All right, guys, phenomenal morning. This is your Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Shaan East, as always, flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson. Let me tell you something. Today is the day if you decide for it to be. Literally, if you decide for it to be, today is the day. Bobby Jackson, how you feeling this morning, brother?
Man, absolutely phenomenal, coach. Absolutely phenomenal. Things are working themselves out. I'm excited.
Very good. Very good. As always, of course, guys, we are live on multiple channels. Multiple channels on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram. And there are people active on every single platform. So I got to check on the phone sometimes. I'm seeing this from every angle, guys. So we're with you. This is your Breakfast with the Brand, and we're going to help you to build your brand, build your business with actionable principles that you can use today, not tomorrow, not 5 years into the future. Everything we say is going to be evidence-based, so you will be able to use it 5 years into the future. However, it will be relevant and it will be actionable today as you build your business, as you build your brand. So one of the things that I want to start out with before we even go to the break is, who are you? Like, realistically, who are you at the core? That's the first thing that I work with my clients with when I'm helping them to scale. The first thing I tell them to do is they have to scale themselves. Everybody wants to now. So Bobby has said this last week when I talked about the rev in you. Everybody wants revenue, but nobody really knows about the rev in them. You can't add a zero to what doesn't exist. Zeros by themselves are just zeros. And there has to be a primary number. And you are that primary number. So we're going to start with you today and get you right, get you on the right foot, get you started, because at the end of the day and the beginning of the day, only you exist. That's all you have. And if you want to build people, you're going to build people around you. If you want to build a phenomenal business, you're going to build that around you. If you want to build a phenomenal brand, then that phenomenal brand is going to have a sun. It's going to have a center. The center of gravity is you. You have to be able to pull. You have to have a magnetic force. You have to have something that compels people. And you have to have an offer from yourself that adds value into the world. So before you add a zero to your bank account, before you add a zero to your client roster, you have to add a zero to you. And if you figure out how to add value to you, how to position yourself differently, see yourself differently, then you'll be able to begin to see the world differently. And they, in turn, will be able to see you differently based on how you treat yourself. I tell people all the time to train people how to treat you when they meet you based on how you treat yourself. This is a high velocity topic today. It's all about you, but at the same time, realistically, it's not about you at all. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. Figure that one out before we get back. Let's grow. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
I tell people all the time, I say coaching is a future-focused, goal and action-oriented process. Emphasis on action and emphasis on process. We're going to show you how to not just coach like a leader, but to create your organization with a coaching culture. And then create your community of high-level clients who need and respect your ability to coach them on a high level. So again, this is not consultation. Consultation is being the expert. You do not have to be the expert in a vertical to be a coach in that vertical. What you do have to do is ask open-ended questions. What you do have to do is have active listening. Listen, when you get done with this course, you're going to be a master coach, a master executive coach. You can use this in whatever vertical you want to. If you want to do life coaching, this will help you. If you want to coach clients, coach teachers, coach students, this will help you. If you want to be an evidence-based executive coach and only work with professionals, that's what this program is going to allow you to do. But it's also going to help you to add a 0 to the back of your number because you will know what you're doing. This is not hype. This is not motivation. This is evidence-based. This is factual-based, data-based, driven by science, and exalted by performance. All right, so let's talk about that performance piece. Let's dig into that performance piece. Why? Because the performance is based on you. Performance really, Bobby, is based on perception. Based on your perception of yourself. If you see yourself as a high-value individual, then you perform at a high level. If you perceive yourself as a low-value individual, then you perform at a low velocity. I promise you, self-perception indicates self-efficacy. And you can only be as effective as you can see yourself to be. It starts with you. Again, it starts with how you view yourself. So here we have a culture. The culture is called leadership leverage, meaning you leverage your leadership in order to influence people around you and things around you, business around you, verticals around you. If you do not perceive yourself as a leader, other people, including your family, this works at work and it works at home. If you do not perceive yourself as the leader, then you will not do the things that are indicative of leadership that is required to be the leader, and you will lose your followers.
Wow.
Yeah.
This makes me think about my early days as a husband and really trying to figure that whole thing out. When we're talking about leadership, talking about business, my first years as a sergeant, my first years as a employer, it was something interesting about all of those years. But what I think is the most interesting when Shaan opened up the question with, who are you? Oftentimes we have to develop ourselves before we can develop our leadership. Oftentimes because our leadership is a derivative of us. It's who we are up until that point. And I think that's a very interesting thing when we said it's not about you, it's about the people that we serve, the people that we lead. I've got a family of 5. And then I have had a business as large as a team of 10. And when you have so many people to lead, and I've been in situations where I'm the platoon sergeant of 20 people. And what's interesting about these situations is you have to lead different people differently. And what I want to talk about the business side and the leadership side and the leadership leverage piece is this. There's a point that I've experienced that when you are being authentic to you, you're showing up as yourself and you're executing at the highest level, your leadership starts to transcend leader fellowship styles, because everybody has a style that they want to follow. They're like, I like my leader to be like this. I like my leader to be like that. And what I found is that when you get yourself to a certain edge, when you've worked on yourself, you've worked on your leadership, you're executing in the marketplace or wherever you're building your leadership and you're executing at the highest level, your leadership begins to transcend preference. And when you can transcend preference with your leadership, I found there's a lot of power there. And that's marriage, business, military.
Whew. Listen, guys. So I got to give a shout out real quick to Alex Toussaint, right? Because he's one of my coaches, guys. So watch this. Your life consists of coaches. Your life, the success in your life consists of your coaches. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was an example of this. Michael Jordan was great. He was really good. He was really, really, really good. Like he was number one in his vertical, but the Bulls still had no championships. He was great. He was phenomenal. He was the highest scorer in the league. MVP. Still had no championships. Enter the coach. Enter the coach. Phil Jackson had a knowingness. He had a presence of mind and clarity. So he saw something that did not exist around Michael Jordan, and that's called a team and a system and a framework. And he put a phenomenal player in the middle of a team, in the middle of a system, in the middle of a framework. And that turned a dream into a dynasty. That turned a leader into a legend because of leverage. He was a leader, but he didn't have leverage. The team gave him leverage. The system gave him leverage. The framework gave him leverage. The coach is what gave him leverage. And now he's a billionaire. The shoes are worth multiple billions. The brand is worth multiple billions. And it's historical. It's legacy. We grew up on it. And I remember when they first came out. Some people actually died for them. When they first came out. Yeah, it was crazy. Right? Because but it all boils down to the fact that he had a coach. Let me give you another example. Tyson. He was raw potential, raw energy. He was great. He was good. He had the potential to be good. Most people don't know this story. You got to be like in the trenches to know certain stories, right? So I'm in the trenches in New York City. I know people who know people who know people, right? So he was in Spofford and he met a guy who was going up north in Spofford. And the guy was, in Spofford. They were both delinquent and he was going up north and they both saw Ali. Ali came to Spofford when he was young and spoke at Spofford, and Mike Tyson said, that's who I want to be. In a juvenile delinquent facility for getting in trouble. He was good. He had potential, but he was making the bad decisions. He was making bad decisions because we didn't have coaches in New York City, inner city growing up. So he didn't have access to leadership leverage. But he saw an example of greatness and said, I want to be that. I want to be that. I think I can do it. And he told the guy who was going up north, the inmate with him, I want to be that. He said, okay, I'll see what I can do. When he came home, he knew Cus D'Amato. The guy he knew in Spofford knew Cus D'Amato. So when Mike Tyson came home, he was picked up in Brooklyn and taken to Catskill, New York. Now in Catskill, New York, he met a coach. He met the coach, Cus D'Amato. And the rest is basically history in terms of a leader being able to leverage other people's leadership, insight, frameworks, and systems. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but do you remember the 1, 2, 3, 5, 9, 7? Like he had a framework. He was taught a numbers system. So when Tyson would come out and throw the combinations, it was a numbers framework. 7, 9, 2, 3, 2, 1. If you look at Mike Tyson's old fights, you'll hear it being screamed from the corner. A numbers combination, a system, a framework that raw potential was put in the middle of to become a phenomenal living legend. I'm going to prove what I'm saying to you because everything I say is evidence-based. This is not motivational. You can be motivated, but this is not motivational. This is inspirational and it's factual. This is data driven by science and research. Watch what happens when people get a big head. Well, in Chicago, after fighting for championships and never getting them, and finally bringing in the right coach and getting championship after championship after championship, they thought it wasn't the coach. They said, we got a great team, Bobby. They said it's all about the player. It's Michael Jordan. It's not the coach. It's Jordan. It's Pippen. It's the other guy with the green hair. He said, it's the team. It's not the coach. We can underpay the coach. We can undervalue the coach. We don't need the coach anymore. We've got a dynasty. And Phil Jackson was like, oh, yeah? It's about you guys? You're the winner. You don't need the leverage. You don't. Okay, great. And he left. And the dynasty never won another championship. That was it. Matter of fact, what he did was he took a year or two off. He took a year or two off and just said, you know what? And remember what I said. You train people how to treat you when they meet you based on how you treat yourself. He walked away. He said, I'm the buyer. I'm not the seller. He said, I'm not the seller. I'm not going to give you the option to undervalue me. He said, I'm the buyer, and you guys are no longer qualified to retain me. And he left. He wasn't fired. He left. He quit. But then he said, you know what? History doesn't understand it yet, Bobby. That's what he said. History doesn't understand it yet. So I'm going to give him 2 years to think about it. Pay very close attention. Because he recreated greatness and phenomenality in Los Angeles with Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. Same framework, same system, same coach, different people, and did it again. Greatness, leadership, leverage. He proved it was the coach. Now I'm gonna say it one more time before we go to the break. I'm gonna prove it again, just in case you think there's some potential for fallacy in what I'm saying to you. As soon as Cus D'Amato passed away, and Mike Tyson no longer had that specific coach in his corner, Buster Douglas, not taking anything away from Buster Douglas, although you can look at his record for yourself and you can look at his previous fights for yourself and do the research. Buster Douglas was able to have a bad night and whip the pants off Mike Tyson, who many people would say, besides Muhammad Ali, was one of the greatest fighters in the world. It was the coach. It was the leverage. It was the system. It was the framework. And without one, you're just great raw potential. But when you put yourself in a framework, when you put yourself in a system, when you get the right coach, you become lethal. You become deadly, serious, and you become phenomenal, and you have the potential to become a superstar. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. I just want to impress upon you the importance of coaches in your life, systems, frameworks, processes, and being a part of the right community. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. We'll be right back. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Shaan Rais. I'm proud. I said Shaan Rais. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire and heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. What's your take on that, Bobby? I know I gave a lot of jewels right now. I just gave a lot of wisdom. Guys, as a matter of fact, here's a book for you guys to read called 11 Rings. 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. He reproduced phenomenality. He's the coach who reproduced a system that nobody thought was reproducible or predictable. He recreated it. First he did it in Chicago, then he redid it again in LA, and it's a part of basketball, athletic, and leadership history.
Man, the first thing that came to mind was a series of letters written to Goethe. And I forget who he was writing, but in the letter, it said, a waste of potential is one who is phenomenally, they are pretty much full of potential, but they don't get a mentor. And they were like, if you don't get that, if you don't get a mentor and you have all this potential and you just figure it out yourself, it's like a waste of potential. So that's one of the first things that came to mind. And that was really insightful because this is a conversation that's been going on for hundreds of years about how do you maximize the potential of human beings that are, for lack of better terms, infinitely potential. Like there's no bounds to our potential. So we've been trying to figure out how to maximize that forever. So that's one thing that I found pretty interesting, how long it's been a conversation. The second thing was I started thinking about my coaches, and in the military, I had coaches, and their job was to not make me feel happy. My coach's job in the military wasn't to make sure I was comfortable. It wasn't to make sure that I was getting enough sleep at night. My coach's job in the military was to make sure that I was being pushed to the limits of my potential so that I can realize that potential. And it often came in very uncomfortable ways, you know. So I think that that's pretty interesting when it's like, get up, because I think about drill instructors and boot camp. So as you're growing your business and you're building your business, you know, don't be afraid to be the bad guy. I said something once that if you're always the good guy, if you're never the bad guy, you're probably not a good guy. And what I meant by that in leadership is that you're always you're always the good guy. Like you're probably a bad guy. Like if you're never the bad guy, you're probably not a good guy, because there's never gonna be a time where it's gonna be roses 365. And if you're not willing to do what it takes to be that leader that pulls the best and most out of your team, then I feel like you're not being the greatest. And another thing that I would say to this, as the people are watching and thinking about your leadership and building your businesses, is I do not believe I would be where I am if it wasn't for Shaan Rais. And I don't mean that in like a superficial way, like, oh, I have the best coach in the world. Like I believe I do, but I believe I have the best coach in the world for me, like my particular style. Like I'm a certain type of person. And I'm the type of person that's been through a lot in my life. And many of you all have too, but the way that I went through certain things makes me very callous. It makes me very hard-headed. It makes me very, like, you have to practically throw me through things in order for me to understand stuff. So it's like, you have to know who your coach is. And that's why the Marine Corps was perfect for me. Like the Navy probably wouldn't have done it for me. Like the Army probably wouldn't have cut it. The Air Force probably would have. I needed the Marine Corps. Like go dig a foxhole in the cold with nothing and eat this MRE bag for 3 days and come back alive. And that was like, yeah, all right, yeah. So I say all of that to say, who are you? Back to the original question. Who are you? Because who you are determines the type of coach you need. And that's something that I think is pretty profound.
Beautiful, beautiful. And let me say this too, right? So there wasn't one. There wasn't one. There wasn't just one coach, because Tim Grover was strength conditioning. Tim Grover was strength conditioning. There's another book, Relentless. Get it, read it, become it. Relentlessness by Tim S. Grover. He was a strength and conditioning coach for Michael Jordan, and later Kobe Bryant, and later Dwayne Wade. Guys, there's secrets in success, and you're just not studious enough to uncover those. Like you just don't research or read enough to uncover those. But that's my job, to read and to study and to know and to look and to find and to research. That's why I got 3 master's degrees and I'm in 2 doctorates, because I just love the research process. I love to find out things. I love to discover, and I love to become throughout the discovery process. And I love to help my clients save time and save money by fast forwarding their process and giving them actionable insights that they can use immediately to give them a massive edge on the playing field that nobody sees coming. Because nobody saw Bobby coming. 400% revenue increase year after year after year. Nobody saw that coming. No one saw Siobhan Patrick 1 month into Branded Like a Leader, 20K monthly. First year, $250,000. Nobody saw that coming. There's so many more that I could say that, and you can go to the ShaanRaiEast.com to go look at the testimonials, but there's something about giving people a competitive edge or advantage to dominate that just excites me. It lights me up. It electrifies me, because I know what it means not to have. I know what it means to be strategically and structurally stratified, which means painted into a corner where success is not possible, or at least not predictable, and at least not probable. And sometimes we're born into conditions that just are not conducive to massive success. So we have to create those frameworks and systems and strategies for ourselves. I was born into a framework called Harlem, New York, the old one that was not conducive to success or higher levels of education or prominence in business. So I had to create the framework for myself. And I know what it felt like, and I know what it took. I know what it required. So the reason why we give you the Breakfast with the Brand every morning for free is because nobody gave it to me for free. And I know what it meant not to have it and for nobody to be giving it. So I said, you know what? I said, Lord, if you will grant unto me the ability to change my circumstances and become successful, I promise that I will come back and I will feed the people all the wisdom that I learned. And everything I say is not hyperbole. You might be motivated, but it's not meant for motivation or inspiration alone. It is meant to be educational and evidence-based, and I guarantee every word of it. If you implement a strategy that we give you, you will be successful. Bobby is proof of that. That's why he's here. He's living evidence that everything that we say is evidence-based. The books that I've mentioned are factual. Get them, read them, become them, and watch what happens. Leverage your leadership. Find the right people and leverage their leadership. Leverage their education, experience, and expertise so that you can become more. See, but Michael Jordan didn't just become a champion because he was phenomenal. Phil Jackson saw gaps and he closed those gaps with people. He put a system, a framework, and a team around him. You need a team around you. What you're trying to do will not be done in absentia. A solopreneur can only preneur but so far. You need people, you need a team, and you need to start with the right person that can give you the vision and give you the insight and close the gaps that you can't see because you're just inside the bottle. And it's really hard, as great as you may be, to read the label from inside the bottle.
Yeah. You know, I am remembering a phrase that transformed my life. And I forget what program it was in, but you said, if you're a 6, help the 5s and the 4s. If you're a 7, help the 6s and the 5s. If you're a 9, you know, help the 8, so on and so forth. And that was transformative for me because it brought me to a place where I could dominate my level of competence and confidence. And I thought that was profound because some of you all that are watching this right now might have the expertise, education, and experience, but are still working on this confidence piece. Like, how can I really go into the marketplace and ask for a particular number? Like me, you know, me, as you look yourself in the mirror, like me, I don't, like, how can I do that? And because that was me, you know, I said the same thing. Like, how can I go into the marketplace and ask for 5 figures? Like, I don't make that in a quarter. Like, I have to work 30, 90 days for someone to give me that kind of money. How am I going to go into the marketplace and ask for that in one day, on one call, in one conversation, and expect it to be given to me? You know, so this statement was transformative for me because it took the coaching that I had been receiving up into the point that I heard those words. If you're a 6, help the 5s and the 4s. I said, okay, where am I? Again, goes back to who am I? So where are you? How many of those master's degrees have you piled up? How much experience, years have you stacked up? Where are you, right? And once you figure out where you are, what coaching have you gotten? Or what coaching do you need to get? And once you get some of that coaching and you start to marry that competence with your confidence, you can start to close a little bit easier. And I'll end with this as we kind of just talk about what it takes to be great. I think that's kind of what I'm sensing from this conversation is, what does it take to be great? What does it take to turn raw potential into a phenomenal constructed, focused ball of energy moving in a direction that is meaningful. Like that's what this conversation is meant for me today. So I want to leave you with this. If you have experience, expertise, and education, the right coaching allowed me to take those 3 E's, go into the marketplace, find someone that wasn't where I was, but was on their way, and confidently get them from A to B, even though I was just at G. Like I wasn't at Z, I wasn't at X, I wasn't at Y, I was at G. But I was able to help somebody go from B to C, and they were willing to pay exuberantly for it because they knew that they wanted to get from A to B as quickly as possible. So if you're at a G, make that G pay you.
That was
A
good.
G.
That was really good. That was really good, guys. There's levels to leadership, right? And if you don't know if you're a leader right now, if you're wondering or stumbling around in darkness and you're like, but I don't know, Shaan says, what is it about me? And you don't know what it is about you. That's what that link is for at the bottom of the page. I promise you guys, like I'm the free value guy. I'm the guy that over delivers. I'm the guy that adds a 0 to what everybody else says they do. I'm all about you becoming massively successful. So if you don't know where you are, if you don't know the value that you have, if you don't know, you can't weigh yourself yet and, identify your skills, your talent, your characteristics, your capabilities. There's a link at the bottom of the page that will take you to a free assessment that everybody charges for, that Fortune 500 companies charge hundreds of dollars for, that some people charge thousands of dollars for, that will give you it'll give you a blueprint. It'll basically give you a psychological x-ray and a behavioral x-ray, a blueprint, a psychological x-ray and a behavioral blueprint to find out what makes you tick, what really makes you tick. And then you can dissect and tweak it and augment your perspective and your performance, because your business and your brand is based around your behavior, not just the way you act, but how you're perceived and how you perceive yourself. So that's the blueprint. That's for free. If you want to know where everybody starts, this is where everybody starts. I don't care if someone comes in here and spends $250,000 with me. And I've had it happen on multiple occasions. You know what I do, Bobby? I send them all back to kindergarten.
Yeah.
Branded like a leader is kindergarten. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, and seventh. I send everybody back to the basics. When somebody gets up to the echelon, the top echelon, and they're making quarters of millions of dollars, you know what I do when they have a problem? And you know it because you've done it. As soon as they have a problem, guys, I send them right back to the basics. I say that's found in week number 2, branded like a leader. Week number 3, branded like a leader. Oh, you're having a problem with getting up in the morning and getting yourself started and keeping the fire inside of you. That's week number 4, spirit, mind, and body. You don't know how you're supposed to present yourself. That's week number 5. Change your attire to match your desire. Having a problem with emails, 501 framework. Having a problem with social media, world on notice. Hashtag world on notice. WON, week number 3. That's the blueprint. That's the basics. That right there is a blueprint to find out who you are, what makes you tick, and why you might not be winning to the level that you could, or why your leadership and your winningness is capped at a certain level. See, Michael Jordan was capped at a certain level. Michael Jackson was capped at a certain level until he came into contact with his own coach, Quincy Jones. Guys, you need somebody to come in from the outside and rip the lid off of your hatch. And that's what coaching does. That's what leadership leverage does. Because it's not just about being a leader. These were all phenomenal leaders in their own right. But when they leveraged the insight of someone else, they took their leadership and they became legendary. And you got to ask yourself, like, how far do I really want to go? What do I really want to do with this? And then once you make the decision, Take the next required step. Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with the personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Shaan's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Shaan is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Shaan Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
All right, guys. So like I said, like here it is for free, right? Like here it is for free. If you want that next step that requires a small, minimal, extremely minuscule investment, then that's branded like a leader. However, like I know some people are not ready for that yet. That's fine. Get to know us by getting to know yourself, right? This is the $1 million value piece for free on me. For free on me. There is no bigger brand, no better brand that you could invest in than yourself. And they're not going to give it to you because they don't want you to get acquainted with yourself. They'd rather tell you what to do, tell you what you're good at, tell you how much your education is worth, tell you how much you can make in a year. What you see below will help you set the price and add a zero to that number, because when you scratch the surface off of yourself, you crack the code. You literally crack the atom and you realize that, hold on, my potential is unlimited. My potential is unlimited. But you need someone's outside insight to see inside of yourself what's been there the whole time. See, Michael Jordan, he had a hunch. You probably have a hunch. You probably have an inclination that you could be legendary. You probably have an inclination. That's why you're here. It's 7:51 in the morning. Most people are not. They're anywhere else other than studying. And like, people don't read books after school. People believe education stops after they graduate. But if you're here, that means you know there's something more inside of you that needs to come out. That link will take you to that which is right inside of you and has been there the whole time. And if you don't know it, this is why we get in trouble. We get in trouble because we have yet to be discovered. We have yet to do the self-discovery, self-actualization piece. Sometimes they keep us so trapped in menial needs and necessities like food, clothing, and shelter that we never get to self-actualization and phenomenality and untapped potential because we're so money-driven. I need revenue. I need money. I need to da-da-da-da-da. No, I promise you this. I guarantee you this. When you go inside of yourself and become magnetic, become of value, and discover and realize and realign the phenomenal creator that you have inside of you, all of that other stuff becomes magnetically attracted to you. That's why it's not hard for people who understand this to make money. They become money. They become magnetic. They open their mouth and they spit money. It's like an ATM machine. But it's inside of you. You gotta put in the pin. You gotta put the right pin number in for the ATM to work and give you what you're looking for.
You know,
Share this out. Share this out. That's my last request. Like, share this out, because even if this is not for you, share it out for somebody else, because they need this. And this is why we give this for free.
Yeah. I was reading my book of the year. So here we read a book, lots of books, but we also have books of the year. The one book that we read over and over and over again. So my book of the year this year is Mastery by Robert Greene. And I'm like on my third read, and it's only February this year. So in this book, it talks about something that's very interesting that I just want to share with you guys very quickly. Won't spend too much time here, but it's about your business. It's about your development. It's about coaching. So Robert Greene talks about a 16-year-old Einstein. He says Einstein was able to give us some phenomenal breakthroughs in physics because of how long he spent doing physics. He was at 16 years old. He was already like that guy. Like, you knew Einstein if you were in that world. And they say that they found out he was dyslexic, I believe, as early as 7. He figured out how to overcome that. By 16, people knew his name. He graduates high school, does all of these different things, and he continues to build, right? But there was something very, very important that I don't want anyone to miss because it's crucial to your development. It's present in the Marine Corps. It was present in my coaching, development, and business, and it's present in the development of Einstein. And here it is. A 16-year-old me and a 16-year-old Einstein are two completely different people when it comes to physics for one specific reason. And that reason is intensity. It is the intensity at which you're studying and executing and involving and indulging yourself that determines the depth and the deepness of the impressions of the things that you're learning, the neurological pathways, the connection. So let's bring it back, keep it super to the point. If there's no pressure on you as you're developing and you're growing, then the things you're learning are not going to stick as much. The more pressure there is as you learn them, the more they stick. There was an intensity about Einstein when he was learning these things. There was a passion. There was a level of, if this doesn't work, what else am I going to do type of feeling that caused the things he learned to go deep into his nervous system. For me, I was living on zero. When you have emptied your bank account, invested everything, put your house, your cars, your family on the line, and you're learning how to close deals under that pressure, it's a different intensity. There's a different speed of learning because you're learning with a reality that says, if I don't get this, I lose everything. Most people try to learn with a environment that says, if I don't get this, I can start over. They want to play video games. They want to lose the money and press the reset button. That wasn't Einstein's reality. That wasn't my reality. And when that's not your reality, and you remove the safety nets, you unplug the gaming systems, there's no reset button, it's gone and it's gone. The learning and the quality of the learning and the intensity of the learning and its ability to stay with you is completely different. So I just wanted to give you guys that piece as you're growing, developing, and choosing your coaches and undertaking different endeavors. It's the intensity in which you are executing these things that have a great impact on the quality of the learning itself.
Repetition deepens the impression, guys. Repetition deepens the impression, and we know that people come here for a moment, they stumble upon something they've never seen before, and then they like butterflies. Like, we have the attention span of a goldfish, right? Because of societal structures and distractions, right? Sometimes like overwhelming information does just that. It overwhelms. So we live in an information age, and sometimes the information, like at first it was a blessing, but sometimes it becomes a curse. When you become over inundated with so much information that it just freezes you in your tracks and you don't know what to do next. And you don't know where to go and you don't know where to look. It overwhelms you to the point of inertia. So that there's so much that you could do that you do absolutely nothing. Or there's so many variables that there is no value anymore. And you just don't know what to do or how to do what to do how, or who's really trying to help you or who can be trusted. And this is why we give you this for free. Because I dare you to find someone else who's going to give you this level of value every single day consistently for years and years and years. Look at the track record. It's not our first day here. Look at the Breakfast with the Brand on YouTube and just go back. I promise you, every single day is an MBA. And every single day is millions of dollars if you use it. Now, if you want us to like unhatch your singular potential and scale that requires a specialized focus. That requires more intense working, one-on-one interactive situations. That requires more than just, the generalities of giving you massive, massive value. However, again, I think you'd be very hard pressed to find such a value add wherever you look. So many people graduate from college after spending $50,000, and people have come to the Breakfast with the Brand or come to a challenge of ours that has been absolutely free and go turn around and make money immediately. And I've seen multiple people with PhDs, MBAs, doctorates, bachelor's degrees, unemployed, or living meager lives and existences because they're trying to convert their base material, those college degrees, into money and value and actual gold. And they're just not able to. What we try to do is skip you to the front of the line and give you something that's actionable immediately, that you can take immediately into the marketplace and make it pay you. Make it pay you today, tomorrow, the next day. Again, guys, this is the Breakfast with the Brand. And again, tomorrow, same time, same place, same level of value. Nothing changes here. Why? Because consistency plus intensity equals invincibility. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.